I'm back. There's a bit of snow still out and about, just kind of in patches. The creek was real high and I waded through it. Got both my feet soaked, my boots are full of water, so I need to start a fire right off the bat. Thankfully, I stored these sticks, which have a pretty high sap content. I stored them in here, so they're very dry. And then I have some, well, less dry but not entirely wet wood there. Kind of set myself up. Look at that beautiful thing. Hey Bella, laser-eyed Bella. I got a dog, I think. A good friend of mine, Lisa, thank you. Needed to find a more active lifestyle for her dog, and I think me and Bella here are gonna work out really well. It's kind of a trial run, but I don't see anything wrong with her so far. She's a lovely soul. Fire time. I cannot think of worst firewood gathering weather, you know. Everything was covered in snow and the rain melted the snow. That's just, how could you get more saturated than that? So what I did is used my good old pot trick. Putting everything in the pot worked kinda, but it still wicked moisture up from the ground. So even though it was completely covered, nothing could come down on it. Water came up from underneath it. Kind of shows you how drenched everything is. But sapwood is amazing. And a whole bunch of sapwood with wet wood on it. I bet you that flame would be twice the size if I didn't have it all drowned out with wet wood. And so that should dry it out enough to burn that wet wood. After you get a coal base, a good coal base, you can darn near burn anything as long as you stay on top of it, 1 or 2 steps ahead of the fire at all times. Delicate balance, tricky. Snow is an excellent way to clean your cookware. I already did most of the process, but I should have showed you a before picture too. That's pretty darn good. Then you really don't need soap if you're sanitizing it in the fire. Those bad germs I'm gonna stand that fire. Fire. Mine. Hers. Bella. Bella. Here, get that. Get that. Good girl. Heading over to make my shelter, at least start on it. I found these guys, which are hedgehog mushrooms. See, like the hedgehog type teeth on it. Having trouble focusing. Well, my camera's being a pain. But these guys are delicious. And this is February, March. It's almost March. Just a couple days from March. I've never seen them so late. Score. This is a site I chose for my shelter. It may or may not be the greatest, but I think I can make it work. Big old growth log down. I should be able to carve shelves out of it. I'm hoping. You know, been learning in life to have any kind of anticipations or expectations are foolish. So I'm just gonna start digging and moving stuff around and seeing how it evolves, how it shapes. I'm really happy to be around these monstrous trees. One of the appeals of this spot. But yeah, I'm gonna do my best to make this ground flat and make a roof over it, see what happens. I think I identified this dead tree by this. It's an old conch, but there's still life in it. It's extremely brittle, hard conch. And here's the rest of it. And it's really hard to see, but I don't need to explain it all. There's straight grains, really hard. It's almost wavy looking. It's a type of conch that only grows on hemlocks. So we got a hemlock here. That's a Douglas fir. That's a Douglas fir. Douglas fir. Behind it is a hemlock. That little guy growing straight out of this is a hemlock. All the big boys around me are Douglas firs. They kind of got like that. They all have the same consistent texture in their bark. It looks like bacon, if you ask me. That's how I remember it. So this guy, the actual conch that we see, is only the fruiting body. It's the part that releases spores and allows it to reproduce. When we look closer, this is a chunk I took out. There's more fungus. The white is fungus. There's more fungus than there is wood in this rotting tree. Goes all the way up to way down yonder. And that is one organism. And it just barely shows on the outside. But just to know that every rotting log has this in it. I dug in and looked around a little bit. Now, there's a huge organism here. That's all connected. That's all mycelium, all spiderweb together. And it creates a really light, crinkly, like when I push on this, it's like plastic. It's weird. But it has veins the whole length of it that they transport water, but to my understanding, They transport nutrients and information. So it's just incredible knowing that and it's a dead log, but it's not at all. It's an organism 10 times the size of me. It has its own form of intelligence. And it's so different from our understanding, our basic understanding, that people seldomly ever see it for what it is. And I know more than your average, but I know just enough to know that I don't know anything, and relatively. These are complicated organisms. And they just sit there and do their thing. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Broke my grub hoe. Most people don't know what this tool is, but it's probably the best dirt moving tool I've ever came across. Very old tool that don't get used very much anymore. It's a grub hoe. Oftentimes you keep it sharp to cut through roots. I keep my handle so I can reshape another stick to be of the same size and shape. I'm heading out. This is what sapwood looks like before you tear into it. This was a big rotten log. There was a big 3 or 4 foot wide tree here at one point. And now there's just one odd standing strong piece of wood here. That's some excellent sapwood. It's kind of far from camp right now, so I ain't gonna gather it. I'm kind of on a mission to cross the creek. I found a couple logs down over it that were downstream of me, and I think I don't have to build a bridge. But here's another example. That stuff's gonna be real valuable whenever I need it. This little guy is a type of jelly fungus. I don't remember the name of it. I don't think it has a common name because it never gets much bigger than that. Usually you see them with 3 or 4 all bundled in one area. There's a couple more down yonder here. They're edible. There's not a lot to it. Shoot, I have to eat 200 of these to make a difference. But sometimes it's just nice to have the flavor of the forest, something to chew on. Most jelly mushrooms are edible. Found this bizarre, bulbousy, huge conch. A couple of his little buddies down there. Pretty darn sure this is agarikon. It's a very strong antifungal, powerful medicine. I find it interesting to note that, like in folklore, this stuff kept spirits away. But then in modern medicine, we realize it's one of the most powerful antifungals on the planet. Not antifungals, I meant antiviral. And if you think about it, what really is the difference between a virus and a spirit? They both kind of some invisible force that can do good or bad for you. How I test? If it is what I think it is, take a little sample of it and taste it. It should be really bitter. Hard to say. Well, yeah, took a while. It's bitter. I kind of got, this is slightly raw. Oh yeah, the after flavor is undeniable. Oh yeah, took a while to kick in. Really bitter. Yikes. Garicon. Heck yeah. Each one of these rings represents its age. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably roughly 6 years old. That guy up there is probably more like 25 years old. That, and further down yonder, hard to see, are chanterelles. Still finding chanterelles. End of February. Outrageous. Sun's going down. Just made it up and over this ridge. Trying to find that creek crossing. Chasing the sun. Or actually the sun's chasing me. I gotta go. Here my bridge is. There's those two. What I'm standing on and that guy. None of them are great. All of them are doable. It's hard to get to that guy. I would have preferred that guy. Found some wild ginger. Again, not related to the ginger plant. It just has a strong flavor. Check out those beauties. Big old dead cedars. Massive old cedars. Beautiful. That doggy is a happy one. Man, I went to my truck for gas, and on my truck was a note from a friend. I wanted me to stop in, and he's only a couple miles down the road. That burned up a lot of my time. Now it's snowing, and I gotta cross that creek. And that bridge I took over the creek isn't really, it's gonna be a bummer either way. That bridge adds a lot of time, and it's a huge hill I have to go over. I'm tired. I just want to go home. So she's doing good. I'm liking the adventure. I gotta cross this creek, and my flashlight's darn near dead, so I can barely see the other side. Don't really know. I got me a feeler stick. That's the way to go. Always tie your shoes together so if you drop, so you don't have two things to hold instead of one. For a while I was blindly following Bella. She's never taken this way, and she was bringing me right in the right direction. I mean, like exactly where I go. And there, the chance that she smelled my old trail from weeks ago, covered in snow, pretty unlikely. But I wanted to share fun little adventures, just little mini adventures amongst the big one. You get to navigate in the dark, through very dense woods, steep terrain, and snow. It's not fun crossing the creek, getting that cold, but it does make you feel alive. Took too long. Fire is mostly dead. There's a couple of little coals left, but always ready with sapwood. Always got a stash. It shouldn't take long. We got Bella's dog food there, just some hamburger. And then I'm having mushroom tea tonight. A reishi, a Garicon, and I picked just 2 days ago, I think it was, some nice turkey tail. I got 5 different mushrooms in there, each with a very different flavor. Those hedgehog mushrooms that I picked today, I threw in there. Tried to hot oven. So it's so beautiful. Saturday, busy day for me. I got stuff to do, meeting people to meet, places to go. So, camp's all buttoned up. Made my dog a grilled cheese sandwich, and she just ain't gonna eat it. Makes me sad. I guess I'll see you next week. Typically I leave on Sunday, but busy day. Water's high. It's hard to get back and forth. I got plenty of people to talk to and see. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Bye-bye.